Hi everyone, you're very welcome to inspiredstartups.com. Today we're going to be talking to Andreea Wade, founder of Brandalism. This is their website. Andreea is really involved in the startup community in Dublin, so we're really looking forward to talking to her about all the stuff that's going on. Andreea is involved in Askathon, startup weekends, creative mornings. She has a mentoring role with lots of startups, so really looking forward to talking to her. We're here in the Brandalism offices in Ranelagh in Dublin, and we're talking to Andreea Wade, founder of Brandalism. Thanks so much for having us. It's really great to be here.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
Yeah, really looking forward to chatting to you. So we were having a little chat earlier on about, I was getting some of all the many things that you've done. I can't believe it. But tell us how, the motivation for entrepreneurial way of life and getting your own business started. Where did that come from?
Well, I was always interested in entrepreneurs and makers, and I'm going to have to admit to this and don't laugh, but I was always watching these documentaries about successful business people and what they're made of, and and how they got to where they got, and I was always very, very interested in what makes these people tick. And I don't know how, maybe I just ended up being one of them. This is my third business in 8 years, but I've always, I suppose since I was 15 or 16, was doing stuff.
So the bug was there.
Yeah, it really was.
And then tell us about Brandalism. Give us, 100, 150 word pitch, what you guys do, in a nutshell.
Yeah, Brandalism, we're a growth-focused company where there's three main areas that we're kind of in: strategy, design, and development. We work both with startups, but also with established companies that are going into a digital space with a new product or a new service. And that's pretty much what we do. So in these three areas, we could be doing branding, we could be building platforms, we could be strategizing stuff.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. And you were mentioning earlier a little bit that you were seeing some businesses that you had helped out maybe a year ago starting to come back to you now. They'd kind of developed more, branching into different areas. That's really good to hear, isn't it?
Yeah, something is happening, and I'm noticing it, and my business partner is noticing it, who also owns another business. Everybody seems to be getting busier, and I'm reading about this, and apparently now Ireland has it's the fastest growing economy in Europe or whatever, but I don't know, but we are feeling that something is happening. And as I was saying to you earlier, in the last 3 weeks, 2 businesses came to us that we saw about a year ago, and they're like, we're ready, here are your questionnaires, we send things out to them, this is our strategy, this is what we want to do, can we do it? Are you ready? Can you come and see us? We want to do this ASAP.
Brilliant. So obviously it's great when people come back to you and customers come back, but tell us about building your customer base in the beginning. How did you go about that?
Well, it's quite funny. My business partner was our first client, and he then decided to invest into the company because apparently we did such a good job. So a lot of what happened, through word of mouth, but also me being involved. And it's just how it is, and my profile, if there is such a thing, is helping me being involved in so many things like the startup scene, by mentoring or organizing events, or in the digital space, lecturing in product management, or whatever I do. It just seems to help and get our name out there. And my opinion sort of, I suppose, represents kind of what we can deliver, and we do try to deliver what we say. So it's
Do you think that's a good tip for people then in building their customer base, that they should really get to know their area of business or build a profile around themselves? Because it sounds like that really helped out you in the beginning.
If you can do it, and if you have the time and you have to do it. Often enough Twitter served us, did a lot of good, and there was no strategy around Twitter. It was just me going blah 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 blah, and so suddenly I get a client, and then I get another one, and then I get invited to speak in Google through that and whatnot. And it does being an opinion leader of sorts, or having to say something that is meaningful or whatever about something, a space that you're in and others are in, I suppose, does lend that credibility. And then people go, oh, I need to do this thing. Oh, I heard this girl once say blah, 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 blah. And also in our industry, there's a lot of, I have a love and hate industry with the whole marketing and the whole whatever. There's a lot of fluff and stuff in it. This is why Brandalism is called Brandalism as well. So it does pay to be genuine and to have an opinion, and you know.
And just in terms of then how early startups in those kind of first days use their time, have you seen a lot of pitfalls then about maybe where people put a lot of time into one area when in fact that's not really where they're going to get their value from? They should be maybe making better use of their time, or do you come across that often?
Yes, it happens all the time with startups, because suddenly as a founder you have to know something about everything, and you might be a techie or you might be a business person, but you need to know about finance, you need to know about legal stuff, you might have IPs to sort out, you need to be everywhere, and it's a different position to be in, rather than that of an employee when you're in there and you're doing your thing, and it is difficult. I often say that startups are kind of like Frankensteins, that depending on what you first grow one hand and then the other one might be shorter, and then you grow a leg and then the other one, because this is how resources kind of come to you. And this is a stage where this is where we do a lot of work, where startups come to us and go, we know we're not the prettiest, we've come this far, we have some funding now and all these eyes on us, can you help us, and sort of show us how to go into the right direction with everything. And yeah, it happens. I mean, you have to bootstrap, you have to whatever, you don't know anything, you have to test, you'll fail, you'll fall, but there is not one recipe to follow.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that to be open. Be open and learn and listen.
Yeah. And then you were mentioning the founder having to really, know everything, be a lot of the roles, if you like. But in terms of maybe how somebody can build their team to help them with that, how did you go about that?
I am not necessarily the easiest person to work with.
Not a lot of people admit that, Andreea.
Yeah, I mean, I won't even tell you what I've been called.
Okay.
But that comes from wanting to be not necessarily the best possible, but to be the best possible in your role. I mean, I often say to people, if I would be hired tomorrow to, I don't know, wash toilets, I would do the best job possible, because that's my role and that's what It is not easy to find good people. And often in my case, I sometimes expect people to think the way I think or to guess my thoughts. That's unrealistic, and I've learned my lessons around that. But it is tricky to find good people, and people that will work out in not just professionally, people that you get on with, people that they're good at other things that just their jobs. And with startups, I mean, the number one reason why startups fail is people, and this is how it is, and it's a tricky one, but you have to go with your guts and kind of building a business with somebody is nearly like a marriage.
So did you blind date for a while then? Did you headhunt? What way did you do it?
Yeah. I interviewed people. We had a very good intern from Taipei until not that long ago. And yeah, we interviewed a good few people, and I get them to answer all sorts of mad questions that might not seem that they have anything to do with the job.
So were you looking for something other than what their CV said or what was said on paper?
Oh, I don't even care about CVs.
Okay,
no.
So it's very much a gut thing, is it? For you?
Yeah, not necessarily. Everybody says the same thing under a CV, and I know that you list your experience and whatever, but CVs are nothing, and this is something that happens very, very often now in the startup community. I hear so many people who go, I don't care about your CV. I want to, depending on your role, I want to see what you built or what you have. I want to see how you are on social, or I want to see if you have a blog, or I want to see you handle stuff. So CVs are
Yeah. So you're looking for, or is it possible to have, team members that have the same passion and drive as the founder or the entrepreneur themselves have?
Obviously, well, if you could find people with the same drive, I think, you'd be very, very lucky. But obviously you do look for passion in everyone. And it's not just about, I have this experience and this is what I can do and this is what I can deliver. You are looking for someone that you can depend on to kind of go, if I have to leave today and you have to execute a job, but that job is part of something bigger. Although maybe I hired you for this tiny job, I trust you that you know how it works within the bigger kind of picture. And it's not easy, but we're two of us here now. We used to be three, and we'll probably be three soon enough, but there's 7 back home in Transylvania and Romania, where I come from. Really, really good people that I trust them with. We're delivering a big project this week. We have designers, we have developers, we have about 4 people working on this project, 5 with me. And I can just kind of look at their emails or put the client in touch with them. I don't check their work. I don't, And that's the greatest thing to achieve, to find that trust where you can just take your hands away and kind of go, you execute.
So it's worth then the founder really putting time into getting the right people. That's one of the keys. Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about women in business and women entrepreneurs.
Women.
Yeah. I was noticing actually that a lot of online businesses were started up by women who had taken a break from work, maternity leave or things like that. Like I'm thinking of the baby and toddler exposition that's on in the RDS every year. It's a huge event now, yearly event, started by 2 women who are on maternity leave, and lots of other brands and products, particularly from Ireland, have been started that way. What's your experience of, being a woman entrepreneur? Do you think it's any different for women and men?
Hell yeah, it's different. And the stats and the numbers and the research that's out there shows that. And there are so many reasons, and we can talk about this, for 10 hours. It is different. And for me, in the tech community, the difference is even more obvious. When you walk into a room and you see 2 women and 100 men, or you go to a conference. Last year, I spoke at the Web Summit. There were 300 speakers, 29 women. I was one of them. Diversity, balance, encouraging women, blah blah blah. There's a lot of women. I'm on the board, on the executive of WITS, Women in Technology and Science. I mean, there's so many women dropping out of STEM. There is a whole thing going on, and the reasons have been researched and stuff, and it's real. Unfortunately, it's real. It's great. There's a whole conversation around this maternity leave thing, and I was talking to Claire Daly, I think, from Microsoft, who is she's on the NDRC board, and she was talking about her own experience during the maternity leave. What it'd be great if someone, I don't know who, but it'd be great if there would be some sort of initiative. There are all these women in senior roles that are taking a break, they're having children, but if you could link them with startups, for example, so they can lend their their knowledge that is worth gold in this time, if you can give an hour or 2 a week or a day or whatever. So
that is a brilliant idea, because so many women have said to me, when they leave whatever area they're in, they have their children, they're so worried about going back, because they're going to they tell me that they're out of the loop, they've come out of the, they're out of the picture, they're not going to be caught up like everybody else, they're going to be judged because people will think they're not up to speed, they've missed out, 9 months, a year, whatever it is. So something like that would be brilliant.
Yeah, and there is a whole talk around this, and you have to use that time, and it's great that these women, that you mentioned, came up with these ideas. It is an opportunity. It should be seen as an opportunity, not the end of your whatever. So hopefully, if I don't know, somebody can do something, contact me.
Brilliant. Could be a good opportunity there. Recently then, to add another string to your bow, Askathon.
Yeah,
tell us about that.
Well, Askathon actually started last year. So in October, November last year, and it was a female-focused event series held in the Science Gallery. The Science Gallery have been really, really good to us. They saw us as a mission-friendly organization, and they said, come in here, you can hold your events in here. And we've done that. We've done monthly events, and that was really good. And then Christina Luminia, the founder of Thoughtbox Numerosity, she was named in the top 30 under 30 entrepreneurs of Ireland. Her app was the number one educational app in 19 countries. Very active in the community. She came on board, and we were kind of looking at Askaton, and we were saying, okay, what are we doing here? You know, it's great that we do these talks, these workshops, but how can we track progress? Like, what are we doing here? So the idea of Askaton Academy, you know, came up, and we're going to do it, and it's going to be an early stage incubator. It's going to be open. We're all about diversity, so we're going to move away from female focused, although we will encourage females to come on board, but we want diversity. And we want to support the early stage ideas, and nobody's really doing that. And we're just talking to a bank to partner up, and
Brilliant. Sounds very exciting. You're really well established in the startup community here. You recently as well held the meetup, the hiking meetup.
Startup weekend.
Startup weekend.
Startup hiking.
Startup hiking,
Hiking,
and you had a really good response to that.
Yeah, that started with a tweet. A lot of my things start with a tweet. I go, oh, I want to go hiking, or somebody should do blah, 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 and then I end up doing it. But this is how it was. I said, oh, I want to go hiking. Do you want to go hiking? And a lot of startup people who I haven't met, but I've been talking to them on Twitter or whatever, kind of started, replied, yeah, I'd go hiking. And then I got contacted by somebody who I met at Startup Weekend, Tracy, who actually won the best pitch at Startup Weekend. And she was like, I want to help. She's a triathlon person, she's very sporty and active, and she was like, yeah. So this was on a Thursday. On that Sunday, she was up the mountain and back down, spoke to a pub, spoke to a bus driver of sorts, and next Thursday we were sold out. So in a week we had the brand, we had the whole thing, because people wanted something else than meeting in a pub, and so we're going to have our next event on the 27th of September. And then in October, this isn't out yet, but I was mentioning it to you earlier, that we partnered up with What's Up, the Wild Atlantic startup in Limerick, and we're going to do a hike as part of their conference. So yeah.
Brilliant. So we have an exclusive on InspiredStartups.com, so everybody can look out for that. So another really exciting thing, and it's great to hear that it's kind of spreading around the country as well, that people are getting involved and there's able to be linking up and things. So the other thing then that I was wondering about was, Dublin itself as a kind of, seems to just be really building, and the startup community is growing so much. Why do you think Dublin is a good place for startup and entrepreneur communities?
I was asked by the IDA about a month ago to sit in a chair like this with a camera pointed at me like this, and to kind of answer the same question, because they were putting together a website for the Bloomberg conference in the state, and the theme there was the next big thing, and they wanted to say, why is Ireland next? And I answered, in my view, why is Ireland next? I think a lot of doers and makers come here, and they come here because they find the resources, they find a community, a real community that exists. I mean, I was having this talk with Russell Banks, who's doing all sorts of great things, Dublin Beta. He's one of the most active people in the community, and he was saying, Andreea, I hear people saying, oh, Berlin, so great, startup hub, whatever, London, the same. There's no real community there. There is not a community that is here. It's just, there's things are happening there. There are tech startups, but a community like here does not exist. And I don't know exactly what it is about Ireland that has, first of all, pulled this mass of makers and doers, but it's also pulling us to talk to each other, to help each other. And it's creating out of it people like me that was created by this community. I suppose I'm just a person who does stuff. But suddenly, you want to interview me, or I'm being asked to speak in front of 300 girls in Tullamore during Science Week, or Google wants me to go in and talk to their, and it is great that it exists, and I don't think it's going anywhere. And I think it's going to get bigger and better because people want to create change.
It's really interesting because we spoke to Ian Lucy, and one of the things he mentioned was how Ireland is one of the best places for government grants and assistance schemes, things like that, and that in the beginning maybe drew people in, but maybe now it's the actual community itself has kind of generated much more of a resource for people itself now.
Absolutely,
it's brilliant to hear that. So you've got so much going on, and we haven't even touched on half of it. One of the things that always really interests me about entrepreneurs and people who start their own business is, do you ever have any time off? Like, does that mind ever stop?
No.
No. So thinking in your sleep, really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
I am not kidding. I came up with brands. I came up with ideas during my sleep. In the morning, it's the best time. I sit there, I think, I sort out all my problems, whatever, and then I get up and I just do them in like 10 minutes. But it's in that state. I wake up, I write stuff down, I check websites, it never ever ends, but it's okay.
So if somebody's out there and has that idea for, a business, a product, whatever, and, one of the things we've talked about is you're going to be strapped for time, you might be broke in the early days, all those kind of things, when you feel like you're up against the wall, like what would you say to them, that to keep them going, or, at that time when, they never have had a day off for, however long, and like what can keep that drive going?
Get used to it, because it won't end. It doesn't matter how successful you are or whatever, it's just going to be the same. You will have bigger and bigger responsibilities. But either do it or don't do it. And I doubt myself, maybe, I don't know how many times a day I go, what the heck am I doing here? Why am I doing this? Should I do something else? I hear so many close friends who are entrepreneurs who don't necessarily talk openly about this thing, going, Andreea, I need help, or I need to talk to someone, or I don't know how to make this decision, because it's only you. I sometimes tweet and I go, can somebody tell me to go home, or can somebody tell me to just do something else that I'm doing, because there's nobody there to tell you. It is hard, it is difficult, it is to build something. It's one of the most difficult things that you can do. But if you want to do it, just stick with it and make sure you surround yourself with the right type of people. I hear this all the time from people who they quit their jobs, or they're at the beginning of the road, and they kind of go, Andreea, I realize how important it is to surround yourself by doers, people who are doing stuff. Because people will tell you, oh, why are you doing that? Why are you leaving the security of your job? Why are you taking this decision and not that one? Why don't you just keep this safe path and work on this a little bit and who knows what? You can't listen to that, because that's in your head anyway. And if you hear that over and over again, you're done with. So just surround yourself with the right people. But also know when to quit. And it's very, very difficult. I don't know when to quit. That's not good. Yeah.
You mentioned the startup weekend that was recently in Dublin. Was there any major points you took from that, or anything of interest that you could share with us that you thought were really good tips for people?
Well, it was great to see the community come together. It ended up being the largest startup weekend in Europe. It was 3 intense days. A lot of things have happened, but it was great to see all sorts of people, come together and work on building on an idea or whatever. And this is why I'm very excited this coming weekend for the hardware hackathon that follows the startup weekend model, and that will be around hardware, which has never happened yet in Ireland. But it was great, and I know I said this to you, but in November something else might happen with Startup Weekend Dublin. So
another exclusive.
We will apply the lessons we have learned. But it was good as a team to come together and do what we've done, and then it was just great to meet all the new people that I that I've met there. Yeah,
it's brilliant. We could go on and on because you've so much going on, but thank you so much for talking to us.
No worries.
And best of luck with everything that you have coming up. I can't even, imagine how you get the time to do it, but you told me there is no such thing as not enough time, so I'm not even going to go there.
No.
But thank you very much, Andreea. It was a real pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you as well. Cheers.
You're welcome. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Don't forget to check out inspiredstartups.com, where there's lots more interviews on our YouTube channel, so you'll get lots of tips and inspiration from those. And don't forget as well, the podcasts, you can download them and you can listen to the interviews on the go. Thanks for watching.